Do you ever find yourself remembering the cartoons that both terrified and fascinated you as a kid? The shows you watched with a pillow close by, just in case you needed to hide your eyes. Yet no matter how unsettling they became, you couldn't stop watching. If you grew up in the 90s or early 2000s, there's one show that fits that description perfectly. Courage, the Cowardly Dog. A bizarre, eerie, and oddly heartwarming series that aired on Cartoon Network, where every episode brought a new, unexplainable horror to the middle of nowhere, Kansas. And tonight, let's quietly revisit the creepiest Courage, the Cowardly Dog episodes we'll never forget. When Courage the Cowardly Dog debuted in 1999, it instantly stood out. It wasn't your typical animated show. It was surreal, deeply unsettling at times, but also oddly beautiful. While many episodes had humorous moments and heartfelt lessons, some left a permanent mark on young viewers' memories. The kind of stories that stayed with you long after the credits rolled. Let's begin with perhaps the most infamous episode of all, Return the Slab. In this unforgettable story, Eustace finds a slab belonging to the ancient pharaoh, King Ramses. Ignoring Courage's pleas, he keeps it. That night, the spirit of King Ramses appears outside their farmhouse. His ghostly, computer-animated figure and haunting voice endlessly repeating, "Return the slab," became one of the most chilling images in children's television. As eerie plagues swept through the house, from locusts to floods, the episode delivered a simple, unforgettable moral: don't mess with ancient curses. Another episode seared into our memories is Freaky Fred. Muriel's unsettlingly cheerful nephew arrives for a visit, bringing with him an unnerving obsession with hair. With a sing-song whispered narration, Fred gleefully recounts his history of shaving everything and everyone. His wide, unsettling grin and repetitive use of the word naughty made this episode deeply uncomfortable, yet impossible to forget. Then there's the House of Discontent. On a stormy night, a vengeful spirit manifests in the Bog farmhouse, furious over the family's lack of gratitude for the land. The ghostly figure, tall, with an empty, hollow face, appears in flashes of lightning, accompanied by a deep, otherworldly voice. The lesson about respecting nature and unseen forces blended with the episode's eerie visuals to create a haunting experience. The demon in the mattress took a familiar horror trope and made it its own. Muriel buys a new mattress, unknowingly releasing a demonic entity that possesses her. The once gentle, soft-spoken Muriel transforms into a terrifying, deep-voiced demon, attacking Courage. The possession scenes, especially Muriel's transformation, left many young viewers with a new fear of everyday objects. Night of the Weremole introduced a classic werewolf-style horror into the Courage universe. After being bitten by a strange mole creature, Muriel begins transforming into a monstrous weremole under the light of the full moon. The slow build-up, the ominous music, and the unsettling transformation sequence made this one of the show's creepiest offerings. Another fan favorite in the horror category is The Mask. A mysterious figure wearing a porcelain mask arrives in nowhere. The character, speaking in cryptic warnings, targets Courage and displays intense hatred for dogs. The mystery deepens as we learn about her tragic past involving abuse and lost friendship. While not horrifying in a traditional sense, The Mask's heavy, emotional tone and disturbing themes made it one of the most haunting episodes. Cat's Candy featured one of Courage's recurring villains, Cats, a sinister, red, humanoid feline. This time, Cats runs a creepy candy factory where Muriel is held captive, and Courage must survive a series of dangerous traps. Cats' calm, menacing demeanor, combined with eerie background music and dim lighting, created an atmosphere of constant unease. Then there's Perfect, where Courage is visited by a cold, strict schoolteacher spirit after Eustace declares Courage worthless. This figure haunts Courage, forcing him to endure endless lessons in perfection. The episode's surreal dream sequences, unsettling music, and Courage's visible anguish created a dark, oppressive mood. It subtly spoke about anxiety and the pressure to meet impossible standards. Human Habitrail gave us one of the show's strangest plots. Muriel and Eustace are captured by a giant, intelligent rodent who traps them in a maze-like cage. Courage must navigate the bizarre world of human-sized hamster tubes to save them. The episode's dim, claustrophobic settings and surreal visuals made it both fascinating and deeply uncomfortable. The Tower of Dr. Zalost introduced a melancholy villain, a green, depressed scientist who spreads misery across nowhere. His giant, cannon-equipped tower rains sadness over the land. The episode's grim mood, combined with Dr. Zalost's sorrowful character and eerie score, made it a unique and somber entry in the series. Then we remember A Night at the Cat's Motel. In this episode, Courage and his family seek refuge at a rundown, sinister motel run by none other than Katz himself. Spiders, hidden traps, and Katz's sinister hospitality turned this into one of the creepiest episodes. The oppressive atmosphere of the empty motel in the middle of a stormy night was horror storytelling at its finest. Queen of the Black Puddle stands out as one of the series' eeriest romantic horror stories. A beautiful, vampiric water spirit lures unsuspecting victims to their doom. Her dark, misty lair beneath the puddle and her predatory nature made this episode unnerving, with an underlying sadness in its Monster of the Week theme. Heads of Beef was another unsettling tale. Courage and Eustace visit a diner run by a peculiar man rumored to serve human meat. The episode plays with tension and eerie background details, leaving viewers guessing about the true nature of the diner's menu. Its urban legend-like premise was a perfect fit for Courage's unsettling universe. And finally, we can't forget King of Flan. Muriel becomes obsessed with flan, made by a sinister chef with mind control intentions. The unnatural cheeriness of the chef, the hypnotic effects of the flan, and the slow descent into madness made this episode one of the show's more subtly disturbing entries. What made all these episodes unforgettable wasn't just the scares. It was how they combined horror elements with genuine emotion, surreal humor, and occasional moments of tenderness. Courage, despite his terror, always stood up against these bizarre threats. He taught us that bravery isn't the absence of fear, but the willingness to face it. Courage. The Cowardly Dog's eerie visuals, experimental animation, unsettling soundtracks, and strange, dreamlike storytelling left a permanent mark on its viewers. Even now, years later, those who grew up with it can still recall those classic lines, haunting images, and unforgettable characters. Each episode became a little lesson in bravery, love, and resilience, wrapped in bizarre, often horrifying packaging. It trusted kids to handle unsettling themes and find heart within the horror. It let us face fears in a safe, fictional world and taught us that sometimes the things that scare us also help shape us. And now, as we gently reach the end of this strange, unsettling, yet heartwarming journey through the creepiest episodes of Courage, the Cowardly Dog, it feels like the perfect time to pause and reflect on why these stories stayed with us long after the screen went dark. There was something about this odd little cartoon that reached deeper than most. It didn't just aim to entertain, it aimed to touch something quiet and hidden inside us, the part that knew what it felt like to be afraid, to feel small in a big, mysterious world, and to still find courage in the face of it. When we think back on those nights spent under blankets, the TV casting eerie glows into our rooms, it wasn't only the monsters that made Courage unforgettable. It was the atmosphere, the silences between the scares, the wide, empty fields of nowhere, Kansas, where anything could happen and often did. It was that curious blend of humor and horror, safety and danger, warmth and unease that made the show feel so unique. It spoke a language we didn't fully understand as kids, but one we felt in our bones. Each episode became a memory, a mark in the scrapbook of our childhood. The sinister grin of Freaky Fred, the chilling, digital voice of King Ramses demanding his slab be returned. The tense stillness of the empty cat's motel, spiders scuttling in the shadows. The way even the most ordinary things, a mattress, a puddle, a piece of flan, could suddenly turn sinister in the world of Courage. And yet, through it all, there was always Courage himself. Shaking, stammering, but never backing down when Muriel or even the endlessly grumpy Eustace was in danger. It's funny how a cartoon that frightened us as kids has grown into something we revisit for comfort as adults. Maybe it's because we now recognize what Courage was truly teaching us, not about monsters or curses, but about bravery. That real courage isn't the absence of fear. It's standing your ground while terrified. It's rushing into danger when your heart's pounding and your instincts tell you to run. It's loving something or someone so much that you'll face your worst nightmares for them. And isn't that a lesson worth carrying with us? Even now, when the monsters of our childhood have been replaced by new fears, new worries, and the unknown corners of adult life. Courage's example reminds us that while fear never leaves us entirely, neither does the strength to face it. The show's eerie animation, experimental storytelling, and unsettling music left a permanent mark not because they were disturbing, but because they felt so different. They captured what childhood sometimes felt like: strange, confusing, a little bit magical, and a little bit scary. And through Courage's trembling bravery, the show quietly reassured us. It's okay to be scared. It's easy to see now why the creepiest episodes linger in our memories. They were more than ghost stories or monster tales. They were metaphors for things we didn't have names for back then. Unspoken fears, anxieties, and questions about the world. And in watching Courage survive each one, we quietly hoped we could too. And so tonight, as you settle in, perhaps you'll find yourself remembering those eerie Courage moments. The voice in the wind, the ominous shadows creeping closer, the monsters with two wide grins, but you'll also remember the laughter, the tender moments, the loyalty between a frightened dog and the people he loved. And maybe, just maybe, that balance is what made the show so beautiful. Because even in a world where puddles hide sirens, candy factories become death traps, and ghostly pharaohs seek revenge, there's room for warmth, love, and silly catchphrases. And sometimes, what saves us from the darkness isn't bravery, but the people and pets we fight for. Thank you for joining me on this nostalgic journey through one of the most hauntingly wonderful shows of our childhood. I hope these memories brought a strange, familiar comfort. And as you drift off to sleep, let those eerie images settle softly in the corners of your mind, like old friends from the past, no longer frightening, but quietly waiting to remind you of what it was like to be a kid again. Good night, dear listener. And wherever you are, remember, no matter how strange or frightening the world may seem, you have more courage in you than you know. Just ask that little pink dog from nowhere.